and say 5th or even 4th place is pretty
Yeah, like that
small,
Sandy
Coach.
part.
So really, it
And
could have
then
been a
just
very
ride the
different
plane the whole
scoreline,
way,
but
Lily.
it doesn't matter because what we got to jump into map
If you
6,
have to,
and
like,
that dud is going to
we're gonna get
stay.
some
There's
spot
no
here.
dropped
I'm out of
maps here, but I love that we brought up Stumman's POV because he is on Queen
And then if we
Eliminator's
die,
team
bro, you can literally just
alongside
swim out here.
Believe, and they
Watch
have
out for the
been the
sharks,
silent warriors throughout this tournament. We have yet to see them on the main stage, but clearly they're doing something right.
This first circle is wild. I mean, if you got a chance to look at that map, most of the circles in the water to the northwest side of the map, like above castle area, kind of. And now you've got to make some decisions because you want to land hyper aggressive, which is definitely what's happening on main stage. Holy cow, Believe all of a sudden in trouble. Scumman also in trouble, trying to get the self revive off early. Might try to out self the opponent, and nope, they just knock each other, and then teammates come in and clean everything up here. That's zlaner and pretty easy with Luminosity Gaming there, cleaning those up. But look, I mean, this is going to be wild because that circle's pulling not only to the water, but also to the far edges of the zone, or of the map rather. So that means every team is going to have to relocate and wrap really early if they don't want to get held by some of the teams that are actually landing near a circle. So if you're trying to play edge of zone on the other side, I think you're going to be for a rude awakening because you're not going to find a ton of teams out there. Everybody else kind of favoring middle of the map or further northwest.
Well, and keep in mind, I want to harken back to something, Goj, that you talked about at the very beginning of this tournament when we were discussing bans for these 8 maps. It is something like the Siege and other bans that are very effective in the water. You're not going to have those to rely on, as Lightsfire does have that triple threat trying to stay alive, and Joewo doing God's work, hitting all those headshots and looking good while he's doing it.
Yeah, clean up kills. That's another kind of small boon that we talked about with the sniper. I mean, obviously you can pick up kills from distance, but you can even just clean up kills from distance that your teammates are able to knock, which is huge, especially if you have high ground position. Again, a very systematic approach to an otherwise chaotic tournament. And again, back up, Joewo doing God's work from distance. It doesn't appear on the score sheet, it doesn't appear on the tally sheet, but it is a massive boon to his team to be able to play that role and play that role well. It's fun to watch a team play that systematic of a Resurgence tournament format. I hope to see them in the money, but there's other teams like this one who sure playing systematic to some degree, but much more aggressive and much more scrappy thinking on your feet, because that's what they do every single day when they play this map.
Swing back over to Joewo, tries to connect and get some return fire, a bit of his own medicine, and just says self-revive back up into the action. Ebates will be redeploying at the same time, and I've seen Joewo up here a few times, and this time around, he ends up staying alive. Joewo, in the same position a few maps ago, was taken unaware by someone flying through that window, and now gets that revenge. So a nice shout, first elimination as Iceman falls.
Yeah, that's tough. A little trash talk, too, between friendly competitors. I think he said, "You're terrible," which, hey, fair enough. Won the gunfight with little to no plates. Great regain then from Joe to maintain his high ground position and play this edge with Ebates. Be curious to see how that team does at the latter portions of this circle. Current leaders, or at the very least your win leaders across the board, continuing to hunt for their kills as well. Joe having to relocate a little bit lower, continuing to break shields, but right now staying as a unit. And this is, again, one of the first times we've watched a team land inside of circle, stay inside of circle, even though it was this kind of really aggressive northwest pull of the first zone.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe just hedging your bets, especially depending on lead totals and what you feel comfortable with. I mean, if you're a team like Knights and you've won 3 maps in a row, you can play a little bit differently than other teams at this point, considering, well, we've only got this map and 2 others after it to close things out. But again, we can't say enough good things about what Knight's team has done. They have been phenomenal from start to finish, and well, maybe they're going to see if they can do 4 in a row. Goes. Have we ever seen that in a Resurgence tournament? A team winning 4 maps in a row?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to lean back on my massive database that is Warzone earnings, but I don't think so that I can remember. I know we've had a back-to-back-to-back before, but 4 just seems a little bit unwieldy. And we'll see maybe if they can make history here, not only going back-to-back-to-back, but also winning the tournament. Certainly possible.
Yeah, is that guy on the roof?
Flying in right here.
On Goj, I'm taking a little look at the leaderboard.
Yeah, one's on the
As again, those team reports are coming in on prior scores. And it does look like Team Knight, perhaps no surprise, in first place with 108.6 points. Team Adapt behind them at just over 100 points, and Team Queen Eliminator in third place with 91. But Team Joewo and Team Swagg right on their heels.
Yeah, these are kind of all of the familiar names we've been watching for most of the day, right? The top 5 that you just named, aside from maybe Team Queen Eliminator, who we saw had an early hot drop and then struggle, are teams that we've been watching most of the day because they've been frying. And that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the broadcast. You have to have kills if you're going to be at the top of this leaderboard. Period. End of sentence. Especially with the multipliers being what they are. Sure, staying alive is super crucial. 1.5 is fantastic if you win, but you have to have a ton of kills. You can't play a slow and complacent game. You can't just play a zone game. You can't just play an in-circle game. You're going to find yourself with 8-9 kills, and that's just not enough. And that's what we're seeing on this leaderboard. So here's the aggressive plays here from Knight, finding his second currently. You're setting yourself up for success in the late game to allow yourself to play a bit slower if you find kills in the early game as they continue to push around the map. That's exactly what they're doing by getting a ton of UAVs, using high alert to try to find these opponents. People flying on top of them. Knight in trouble, though. Cap and C-Smith are going to have to push the fight. They got to be careful, though. If both go down, it's all she wrote. No coming back from that.
And that was actually Smixy flying over that rooftop who took Knight down. But we'll swing over to Huskerrs. They've seen some success in today's tournament, but not enough, I think, to place them within the top 5, at least for the time being. But I feel like when I look at a setup like Huskerrs with Rumble, with Myapo, this is a team that I would not be surprised, Goj, if they came out of nowhere and potentially won a map and started doing really well to the latter portions of this tournament. They have that very, very high ceiling. It's just a question of, can they reach it?
Well, and also I want to give a huge congrats to Huskerrs for actually making World Series of Warzone Global LAN. Missed out on it in the LCQs by, I think it was 0.1 points or something absolutely ridiculous. Definitely less than 1 point. And because of a technicality, a team couldn't make it with travel issues. Actually got called up literally days ago. So I'm sure riding high from that. Excited about that. Excited to see him in London. So congrats on that. But would love, yes, to better his performance today and hopefully get some extra cash before heading out to London.
Well, a first elimination at least going to set them on the right path. They take a look around. Where do you want to go to next? And this is another part of Vondel we haven't touched on yet, Coach. Look at how foggy it is on this map. That fog is going to vary map to map, and right now it's certainly not doing anyone any favors.
Yeah, maybe it's doing Huskerrs favors. I don't know, man. He's got pretty good eyesight, I suppose, and with mouse and key, he can kind of lace people through some of that smoke. But yeah, no, I would actually argue probably controller players have a better advantage there because of the aim assist, being able to kind of pull through some of that smoke and help you out a little bit. Huskerrs might struggle a little bit. Who knows?
Ooh,
we'll
careful
see.
on that debate, Goj.
Oh, no,
people have opinions about that.
I'm not careful about that at all. It's quite obvious which one is favored in Call of Duty. And just look at the player base. Real simple to gauge on that. But hey, aim assist, a helpful thing for controllers. Use it when it comes to smoke. It'll help you pull through it, find a couple kills. But speaking of finding a couple kills, looking for Peachy's first for that team. Playing a little bit slower, trying to play zone. And again, I don't know if that's going to net you some success on the leaderboard, but might just be the nature of where you dropped.
Well, interestingly enough, that POV we just saw before switching back to Huskerrs showed someone taking down Gorgo Knight, which is Knight, the team that's won the last 3 maps. So last time we saw him, he was also down. So they might be in a bit of a revive simulator. And well, Joewo's team, no more revives remaining as they take 16. That is not what you want to see as the team that's in 4th place.
Well, it was something I was going to touch on if it happened. So I guess now's a good time when we have a moment, Katie. The problem with this kind of slow, consistent playstyle, which they're not playing slow, but they're not triple stacking, risking it all like this squad is. The strategy of the systematic resurgence play that Joe, Ebates, and co are running is scary, because if things go wrong and you get wiped early and you have a low-scoring game, you don't have any banger maps to lean back on to keep you in the money. So now they're going to have to be stretched and get a 20-plus point map in the next couple that are coming. I mean, we only have 2 left, so you're running out of daylight. This will likely drop them out of the money and out of the top 5.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we've seen some teams hit Ray gains despite having some rocky starts, so maybe this will be the map where they do realize, hey, we simply got to play at a higher pace than we are. It's it's recoverable. We do have 2 more maps to do so, but that's going to be Z-Smith deleted instantaneously. It's going to be Juki's on the other side, and that's Tommy down. Juki's down. A massive moment for them. Tommy's team, I think, sitting at 15th place right now, Goats, with about 40 points. A team that we talked about at the beginning of the tournament, and there's Tommy now just waiting on the respawns. Does have 1 elimination. I believe their best placement overall was 2nd place when they lost to Knight's team, but it just seems like they haven't been able to get anything going.
Well, I agree. I think they just haven't been able to stabilize for the most part. This squad is all up yet again, and I heard through their comms 16 kills already, so looking really strong, especially as the resurgence timer is about to be closed. No more resurgences here in about 30 seconds or so. This team's going to continue to be on the prowl and on the hunt, but they're not pressured to find a ton of eliminations between now and the end game. Now it's more about that multiplier, and who knows, maybe more about winning that 4th map.
Knight, what a dominant team. If you're someone who wants to do well in the next Resurgence tournament, it would behoove you to go back and VOD review what Knight's team has done, because you can call it a fluke if it's a back-to-back. You can't do it if it's 3 times in a row, and you certainly can't do it when it looks like it could become 4 map wins, and if not 4, then a very solid amount of kills to cushion them if they don't take that 1st place slot. Well, Huskerrs are gonna have to be careful. Ducks away, take some shots around the brick wall. But again, that fog and smokes really could play a part in how chaotic this endgame could be, unless you get shot in the back, and Huskerrs trying to scoot into that smoke, get away and into some cover maybe around these cars. But I don't know if it's going to be a safe recovery. The answer is no, as the Semtex comes down.
This fog is fucking trash. D, let me know if you hear anyone under you.
Fog is trash. You heard it from Swagg. Looking to play through this fog and try to grab a win, and who knows, somebody's benefiting from it. The question is who. A lot of cover means a lot different way to play these final fights. I was going to talk about this final zone and how there's little to no cover in this zone. There's much less buildings than we're used to in the final zone. However, because of the fog, you actually have some decent rotation routes that you could make across the canal and even out in the open slightly if you can do it fast enough to where somebody doesn't pick you up just because of that fog, especially paired with smokes like you were talking about. 2 teams fighting below. Sage says, I want a piece of that action. Sage is on 10 again. Talk about a Monster Energy MVP candidate going massive on eliminations nearly every single map. Sage on 10 looking for more. Resurgence disabled means it's time to fry and it's time to wipe squads. 2 teams fighting. That could be a chance for both. 10 teams left, 26 players. All 3 alive on this squad, but getting peeked at. Luckily, fog plus water also equals hard to kill.
Yeah, that's certainly going to help you out a little bit, but the tag comes in from Sage, able to scramble up as his teammates give him covering fire into the water. They get the elimination in the process. And now the chaos as the fog continues to worsen. Circle 4 closes. Resurgence is done. If you don't have those flares, you don't have a buy station or the cash, you're going to be having a bad time as players fall left and right. Sage with the call out, someone to their left, 19 players remaining in the lobby. As we grow ever closer to the end of map 6. And, well, things are going to get a little spooky. Might as well go into the cemetery, go in near the church. It's foggy, it's scary, and, well, good luck making the charge across this little wall.
Is it fall yet? Is it Halloween yet? I need some spooky vibes here in our graveyard
fog be around the corner.
ending. This is wild. Sage, Soka, Adapt, making it look easy, though. Iceman Isaac falls, and that's a team wipe for his team. 7th place, total of 6 teams left, make it 5. Into the top multiplier this time around, and looking pretty doing it. Just in the outside of the zone, though, so it's going to be a little bit of a tough wrap. But again, because of the fog, guess who's still alive, though? Up above with an aerial POV. All 3 up. Your current leaders, top of the leaderboard. 3 wins back-to-back-to-back. Their main competition also alive. It's not a fluke. If you're at the top of the leaderboard and consistently in the top 10, even top 5 in nearly every single map. Cat playing the hyper-aggressive player early, other 2 playing Overwatch. Here goes Knight with the streak, able to knock a couple or at least break some plates. What can they do? Yet again, plates are broken. Finds an angle. Breaks plates again. Resources being diminished, but Knight can't grab a knock to... Oh, there it is. There goes a knock, and it's the other team. Up inside the top 3, it's Swagg. Last life for his squad, getting ripped apart by Knight and Cap. Knight finally goes down. It's going to have to be Cap and Z-Smith to save the day. Katie, this is chaos, but Swagg is not giving up yet.
Not giving up yet, but we saw it for just a moment as they were eliminated. Knight is back up, but I think actually in the same area, we saw a fight between Knight's team and Hisoka's team, but Caught was left, didn't realize they came around the corner, gets down. There's Hisoka sliding in. Of course it's Hisoka. A menace no matter the map, but now forced to back off, sends the flare out, a clutch play into the water, able to get around the corner to save the plates in, and what a phenomenal play from them. 8 players left in this lobby, 2 of them on his team. And there we go. Now they're into the top 3. Just 2 other teams remaining. Catches one out in the back. Can't break armor. Can't get the down. Forced to challenge a player. And, well, it's Huskerrs flying in from left field. One of the best plays from his team we've seen so far. But look at that. 20 kills for Hisoka's team. Yes, it's not first, but it's the second best multiplier on a 20. That's got to feel good.
Huskerrs squad with a full team of 3 versus Hisoka and versus who just got eliminated and versus Capture. Who is the last alive on the other squad? It looks like it's Sage still alive on Hisoka's squad. So we have 2 of the top 3 teams still up in this lobby in the top 3. Sage somehow still has not fallen, somehow is still alive. They're continuing to hunt him down, but Mayappo is weak. Take this man out. Finally, Huskerrs squad with a full team of 3 takes down Sage. Still a fantastic map for Team Sage. That's a 20-point third place. Fantastic score. It's going to keep them at the top of the leaderboard. They were hoping that Capture wasn't still alive, though. If Capture can pull off a 1v3, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to pound the rest of this Monster Energy and think about what the next thing I'll do is, because this is going to be remarkable if you can pull it off. Regardless, another incredible map from Capture and a much-needed fantastic map from Team Huskerrs.
Look, it might not be back-to-back first places, but a second place for that 4th map, certainly not going to be a bad way to end it. And now it's not over yet, but a 3v1. You never see moments like this, but one goes down, evening the odds. That top spot, that high ground, so huge, but you got to be careful if you get pushed off of it. Spots one, tags up the armor, goes for the break, can't find it, dancing, dodging, and weaving, finally drops down around the back. The flare, though, could be it, and it's the team wipe that comes in. Simply too many players. Some shouts from the background of Huskerrs stream. That is going to be a first place for them, and a nice 16 total kills on top of it with the multiplier. But again, how can you not talk about Team Knight? I thought there on that first elimination might be able to do it, but that flare sealed the deal.
Whew. All right, that was wild finish to that map. And again, like you just said, Katie, 2 of the top 3 teams, last 3 teams alive, and then it's Huskerrs squad, who on paper, looking at the leaderboard, was down in who knows where. I think near bottom of the leaderboard. I mean, we're talking 18th or so, Katie.